In the 1940s, 1950s, radio was how America was entertained. Television was not widely distributed at that point. Families would gather around the drama, the series, like they gather around Netflix now. And there were the Lone Ranger and Tonto, hi-ho, Silver! And Silver with his coconuts for sound effects by the microphone, right? And so it was drama on the radio. One of the radio shows was a show on WGN radio in Chicago, and it was Sky King. Now, if you keep in mind, this is the 40s, airplanes were still a big deal. It was a cutting edge technology to fly still. And Sky King was this guy with a great baritone voice. Of course, he was a radio voice. And he would fly in whatever the drama was, and he was the guy that would save the day and so on. And the voice behind Sky King was a guy named Earl Nightingale. And Earl pretty quickly realized there was no money in radio, and he bought an insurance business, a general agency. And every Monday morning, he would have a sales meeting and pump up his sales guys and send them out to sell insurance. And he was very, very successful at it, all the way up into the late 50s. And one of the things Earl loved more than motivational speaking or jacking up his sales guys and getting them ready to go out and sell insurance was he loved to fish. And Earl decided he was going on a fishing trip in Canada. Well, his sales manager came to him and he said, you understand that the 2 weeks that you're gone, sales are going to go down, because when you get these guys wired up on Monday morning, they're ready to go attack the world, and they go out there and make sales without you here to do the pump up, the halftime speech for the football coach. They're not going to do their thing, man, and sales are going to go down. Well, Earl thought, well, that's not good, but I'm going fishing, so I got to figure this out. So he goes back to his old radio days and decides he's going to record a talk. And he goes into the studio and records a talk just for the 2-week vacation. Went in and he recorded a 33-minute talk. They played it, sales went up while he was gone. They played it the next week, sales. This is the first recorded talk, not music, but the first talk of any kind, sermon or otherwise, to sell 1 million copies. The talk was called The Strangest Secret. And in it, he talks about the strangest secret is simply that you become what you think about. Now, this is a biblical truth. In Proverbs, it says, as a man thinks in his heart, so is he. Ralph Waldo Emerson said, a man becomes what he thinks about all day long. It turns out that what we focus on, what we concentrate on, what we think about, we tend to gravitate towards, move towards, become that. And if it's good or bad, we're going to be pulled magnetically in the direction of the things we think about. You become what you think about is the strangest secret. As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. Henry Ford once said, if you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. Now, this was proven several years ago, and this is another old story that I just love, and it was proven in this instance. Now, any of you remember the book or the movie Unbroken about Louis Zamperini? He was a track star, and he goes into World War II and gets in a Japanese concentration camp, and finally gets out later. It's the story of his whole life. It's a wonderful story. But Louis ran in the Berlin Olympics with the Nazis doing this. Hitler is coming into power. And he was a miler. He was a kid from California. And in the Berlin Olympics, Louis ran the mile in 4 minutes and 21 seconds and just barely missed a medal. The miler that year was a little over 4 minutes. That was 1936. By 1954, no one had broken the 4-minute mile. No one. A guy did a 4 minute and 1 second, and it stood for 9 years. It was widely thought and taught that the human body, the physiological condition of the human body, it was impossible for anyone to train enough, to go fast enough for the human body to cross a mile in under 4 minutes. If you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. You become what you think about. And one doctor even prophesied that if someone actually did run a mile in under 4 minutes, that their heart would explode and they would die right there. until 1954. Roger Bannister, famously, is the first human being, and that's a picture of him, to break the 4-minute mile. 3 minutes and 59 seconds. 22 people broke the 4-minute mile. Within the next 6 years, we reap what we sow. And so if you plant corn, you will water it, put fertilizer around it if you're a farmer, hoe around it, keep the weeds out, and then you will get corn if God chooses to send the sun and the rain. Now, St. Ambrose said we have to work like it all depends on us and pray like it all depends on God, and to plant new and better things into our life. And I have a thing I call the displacement theory. I learned it from my wife. My wife is kind of like Pastor. She's kind of a health nut, and like she's in perfect shape. She has 0 body fat, which is simultaneously wonderful because she's my wife, but look at me, it's also shaming, okay? So she goes and walks her 6 miles or 28 miles or whatever she does in the morning and works out 4.5 hours or whatever the thing she does. And then she comes in and puts stuff in a blender that humans should not ingest and thinks it's fun. And when she pours it into a glass, it looks like nuclear waste. And it's good for you. Ugh. And then she's got this little nuclear waste mustache and says, do you want some? And I'm like, no. And she finishes drinking that nuclear waste and sets the glass in the sink, turns on the hot water, and the hot water goes into the junk. And the clean water, as it runs, begins to displace the trash. And if you let that glass, and you've done it before, that pan sit in the sink and just let the hot water run on it, you put good stuff in, you will have good stuff in. And it will push the trash from the past out. It will push the past out. Well, people from my neighborhood, I don't care about your neighborhood, put some clean in. People that grew up like, I don't care, put some clean in. People that don't have a chance to start it, like, shut up, put some clean in. As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. If you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. You can do this. It's called hope. Hope deferred makes the heart sick. Be not conformed to this world. Don't be like them, but be transformed. How? Displacement. The renewing of your mind. New things coming in, and it creates a new you. Whole new way of looking at things.